Hi, everyone, and welcome back. And I'm with Supervisor Richard Forster, District 1.
Hi, Tom.
Hello. Tell us what's going to happen at the Board of Supervisors meeting tomorrow.
Well, we have a relatively small agenda, but...
You always say that.
Yeah, the closed session is, there's one item that's particularly thick, so
Lengthy?
that's the way it goes with litigation sometimes. You got a
Okay.
lot to read, but there is one item on the consent agenda that I wanted to bring up. It drew my attention when I was, as the chairman, when I was reviewing the agenda. It's from our Health and Human Services Agency for a contract with James DeCray for, and that's James DeCray, MFT, so he's got a master's degree, but it's called the Men's Movement for men referred by Amador County Behavioral Health, other agencies, private therapy, or self-referral. You know, it's one of those things where you try to help everybody, and I guess it is needed. I talked to Jim Foley, our Health and Human Services Director. It's about a $10,000 contract. It's actually with Mr. McCray and another individual, but they're taking men who feel disenfranchised, either past military, veterans, other people that have some mental health issues. There's people out there that need a little help, need to talk to somebody, and hopefully try to get them on the right track. So I thought it might draw the attention of the board, so I brought that up.
Okay, we're hearing more and more about mental health with a lot of the, the calamities with, some of these shootings and behavior. It seems like maybe we need to be looking at mental health as a large component and some of the anger issues that are happening.
And that's what Jim Foley said. This is an intervention measure to try and get in and talk to people before maybe the steam starts to blow off. So
Okay,
they're trying to intervene and provide some counseling and hopefully get them on the right track. Some of these people that are a little disenfranchised out there.
Okay.
And anyway, it's not going to be one of those kumbaya hug things and sit around a campfire. It's going to be actually counseling, and there's another individual involved who's a veteran that is a little bit different, but he focuses and relates to the past veterans real well. So we have 3 abatement hearings that were held. Now they're coming to the Board of Supervisors through the Community Development Agency and Code Enforcement to certify the actions by the Abatement Hearing Board. The Abatement Hearing Board was Captain Brian Middleton from our Sheriff's Department, Joe Lowe, our County Auditor, and Louis Boitano, one of our supervisors. The first one was Belva Wilson, who has an unpermitted sewage system, and there's actual sewage discharge. So this disposal system needs to be remediated. It was not permitted in the first place, probably wasn't installed correctly, and because of that, you have sewage coming up, percolating its way up, and this has caught the attention of Code Enforcement. The recommendation that was made by our Code Enforcement Hearing Board was that this should be abated, and what they always say is that the parties have 48 hours to remove themselves from the property. But then they stay that order and allow the people to stay there and give them conditions that they have to meet. In this case, by November 1st, they have to have a contract in place to install a 1,500-gallon septic tank, and they have to have an approved and permitted gray water system.
Okay.
So sounds like they want to put some kind of a holding tank in. Might be a little bit cheaper than going the other direction. This was designed by Jesse Shaw, an engineer in the county. And then the second order is that the system will be monitored by the Environmental Health Department, and the 1,500-gallon septic tank, which will hold the gray water, will have to be pumped out periodically. All of that will be monitored, which means a little more work for environmental health, but in this case, it's probably cheaper for the people, more affordable for them to make the fix. But if they see any evidence of percolating sewage coming up again, then the abatement order that is granted will be immediately lifted, and they would be required to immediately abate it.
About when was that system put in, Richard?
I don't know for sure, Tom.
Okay.
It's an unpermitted system and put in back, who knows, a couple years back when, but I know you're talking about somebody that probably doesn't have a lot of resources, so they're trying to work with her, trying to give her some leeway and some avenues where she can remediate the issue.
Okay.
The second one is the Gibson family revocable trust. In this case, they have a septic tank which is open. It's a wooden septic tank that is open, so there's no lid on it, and you know, it's causing issues. One, it's makes it available for people, for animals, for vermin to get in there, especially rats and things like that. If they can get in, if they can get out, they can carry diseases around. But two, it's in a wooden tank, so they just don't allow septic tanks that are wooden anymore because naturally they erode and they leak. So they rot and they leak. So in this case, same thing, 48-hour notice to evacuate the property, but they stay that order, and then they give them the findings that they must take out the wooden tank, they must pump it, take it out, put it in a new system, get it working correctly. Another case, this one's up in Pioneer, the previous one was in Plymouth. Situations like this are all over the county. People don't have the money to properly fix things or properly install things, and so they just go ahead and do whatever. In this case, it sounds like this septic tank's probably been in there for quite some time.
Right. I had no idea they were ever wood.
You know, way back when, they probably did a lot of things that didn't make sense or wouldn't make sense to us today, but, you know, people did what they had to do to make it work.
Okay.
The next one is one that came to us before, but it's from the West End Consortium. It's Mark McMaster, Suzanne Kreutzer, but also involves the Vicini family because the Vicini family allowed Serafina Winery, which represents, is part of the West End Consortium, put a sign on their property, a large sign. The Board of Supervisors had a hearing on this already. They're kind of in a catch-22. They need Caltrans approval to put a sign up there. Caltrans says, we won't approve it unless the county approves it. Well, the county already turned them down, so and it was a 4-to-1 vote. I was the opposition to this. I think people should be allowed to have limited signage. The problem is that your signage may not be limited. Once you put it up, you may be forced to allow anyone.
And what road is that on, Richard?
You know, they're being told to take the sign down. That's what it comes down to. Take it down right now and remediate the issue and go get a permit.
Okay. I guess the question I was asking is, where's that sign currently located?
It's out on the Plymouth Highway.
On the Plymouth Highway, so.
On the Vicini property. The problem is they're in a catch-22, as I said. Caltrans will not grant that.
We're going to take a break and then we'll come back with the rest of the board meeting. So stay with us right here on TSPN.
You're watching Amador County's local television network, TSPN.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Supervisor Richard Forster, take over. Tell us what else is on the agenda.
Well, on that last issue, the sign, the Board of Supervisors had a hearing and told them that, no, we will not permit the sign to go there. The concern was, and with good reason, I'm not, even though I was the one no vote on this, we don't want signs to be plastered on our highways. Once we give the consent, my feeling was, once we give the consent, it's up to Caltrans. And it appears that Caltrans is yielding the authority to us to give that initial consent. So I don't think it's the case, but on the other hand, our county council warned us that once you give consent to one sign, someone else can use that as a reasoning why they should be given the authority.
Now, currently in the county, doesn't the supervisors for the county basically have, if you need a sign, you can put them up, but is this one just too large or something?
No, it's on the highway, on the Highway 16. They have to get a Caltrans permit for that, but they also need a county permit because we only allow signage that's so big and so much of the signage can go up. In this case, though, they have to get that dual permit, and that puts them in a fix. And that first abatement hearing, you know, we want to be sympathetic to people that have financial issues and are not able to make everything work. But at the same time, when you have some flagrant violations like septic coming up in a system that was not even permitted in the first place, you kind of got to put the hammer down sometimes.
It's a strong health issue there, I would think.
Yeah, and though, like I said, their code enforcement's been dealing with this one property and the one property owner since 2009. When they made their way on the property is when they saw just massive violations all over, from the wells to the septic system to where the people were living in a barn that had been converted into a house without permits, and just one thing after another.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we have a request from our Community Development Department to close Comanche Parkway North for placement of grout and slurry on this Rabbit Creek underpass there where the water goes under the road. This is a big issue for us, a big cost issue. I got to tell you, Aaron Bruce-Torrey, our Community Development Director, looked at this and did some calculations and saved the county a lot of money by looking at this and just kind of putting on a new hat and saying we're going to do this different. We don't have to spend all this money. So this is going to be a substantial savings to the county. It's something that we were involved in litigation with East Bay Mud on. The court, I don't know how, but the court ruled against us on this, which this seemed like a no-brainer to me that this was the responsibility of East Bay Mud. But it ends up being the county's responsibility because we have a judge that went sideways on us. So anyway, we have to fix it. We're doing it. Aaron Bruce-Torrey and Community Development Departments are saving a lot of money by thinking outside the box on this one, doing it correctly, but thinking outside the box. Anyway, it'll be closed for a period of 3 days for 10 hours each day.
Give us a location on that one more time, Richard.
The dates on that, somewhere between October 23rd and November 6th. They're not exactly sure. They don't have it pinned down yet. Kind of weather dependent too. So anyway, it'll be a good project and get that done and get it out of our hair so we get out of the litigation that we were involved in with East Bay Mud.
Okay.
We have probably going to be an extended discussion on the City of Jackson's sphere of influence. This came before LAFCO
Right.
a couple weeks ago. City of Jackson actually wants to take into their sphere now everything. Looks like, I believe it includes the Wicklow property that the county owned, but they also want to take in all of the retail that's down in that area, which includes Walmart, the Quad property, Kmart, Garbarini, basically that whole stretch, Save Mart, the whole stretch along there. I want to be somewhat diplomatic on this, but I think most people would view this as somewhat of just a property grab for the taxes that are associated with it. And you know, everybody's having hard economic times now, but I think City of Jackson and their planner doesn't need to put this on the back of the county, and they need to approve their own developments. When businesses come to the City of Jackson, I think they've had at least 3 major businesses that have wanted to come to the City of Jackson and all been turned down. And one of those included a big box store. Well, you know what? Nobody wanted it because it's a big box store. So now City of Jackson kind of wanted to make an in run and come around and grab the property for the tax value.
Okay, now will this issue be resolved in LAFCO?
It'll be resolved in LAFCO, but Supervisors Louis Boitano and Ted Novelli sit on LAFCO, so they want to get a feeling from our board. I think the feeling is going to be pretty strong on this one, that you know, you got opportunities to approve development in your own city sphere as it exists right now. Don't come looking to take county property that's within our sphere. That's just, to us, it's just
City
wrong.
of Jackson probably has a seat on LAFCO as well.
They do. Pat Cruz sits on there, and I can tell you that some of the members of Jackson City, their city council, and many people in Jackson kind of look at this the same way. As they don't want to start a war with the county over property taxes. So people need to kind of turn around their thinking, and if you want the tax revenue, approve properties that will yield that within your sphere of influence now. Last item on the agenda is going to be the Sierra Nevada yellow-legged frog and Yosemite toad, and our board will take a formal position on this. You know, we've talked about it over and over again. It's been apparent from our discussions that no board member wants this 2 million acres listed for the yellow-legged frog and the Yosemite toad. It's going to have a substantial effect on a lot of property up there, although there were a lot of there's lots of property up in Tuolumne County now that was yellow-legged frog territory that probably there's no longer toads on there or frogs, so because of the fire.
Okay, that is a big issue. A lot of some of the counties are trying to secede on not necessarily just this issue, but the fact that there's so much of this going on in the northern and in the rural counties.
And it's not just yellow-legged frog and Yosemite toad. Right. There's mass filings of listings, and the reason they do this is so that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service does not have opportunity to respond timely, and then they use that timely issue to file a lawsuit against U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and U.S. Forest Service. It just, the environmental community needs to get their head put on straight and look at issues like this and say, if it doesn't make sense, work with the counties, work with the municipalities, and let's all try and get things done right and correctly instead of doing it this way with mass filings.
All right. We've got to go. We're going to take our break, and thanks for watching today's newscast.
You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.